There's a quiet moment many mature women know too well. You sit down to do your makeup hoping to look refreshed and lifted. But when you're done and you look closely in the mirror, something feels off. The lines look deeper. The skin looks drier. Your eyes look a little more tired instead of brighter. And you think to yourself, is it just me? Or is my makeup actually making me look older? This video is for that exact moment. On Timeless Wisdom Path, this isn't another do more buy more makeup tutorial. This is a calm, honest, dermatologist-approved walkthrough of what not to do, and how small corrections can make a dramatic difference. Think of this as a kind friend sitting next to you, gently turning your face toward the light and saying, let's try it this way instead. In this episode, you'll see side-by-side before and after comparisons on the same face. One side showing the common mistake, and the other side showing the corrected, skin-respecting version. You'll see how a concealer that's too light exaggerates wrinkles and texture around the eyes. Powder can make fine lines and pores shout instead of whisper. Matte lipsticks can drain the life and volume from mature lips. Eyeshadow placement can accidentally make your eyes look smaller and more tired. Blush placed too low can pull the face down instead of lifting it up. You may recognize some of your own habits in these before looks, and that's the power of this format. It's not about feeling guilty for what you've been doing. It's about understanding why certain choices age you visually, and how small, dermatologist-approved adjustments can help your skin look fresher, smoother, and more alive. By the end of this video, you'll understand why I made these 7 makeup mistakes every day. Then I stopped, or why your makeup is making you look older, and how to fix it. Isn't just a catchy title. It's a shift in how you see your own face, your own beauty, and the way makeup can work with your skin instead of against it. Take a breath, relax your shoulders, and let's gently walk through these common mistakes together, so the woman staring back at you in the mirror looks more like how you still feel inside. The concealer trap. When brightening makes you look tired. There is a very specific moment many women notice in their routine. The concealer step. For years, beauty advice said, go lighter to brighten the under eyes. So you dutifully reach for that very light shade, draw a generous triangle, blend it out, and expect magic. But as the day goes on, you catch a glimpse of yourself and notice your fine lines look sharper. The skin looks drier, and the under eye seems strangely hollow, almost gray. That's the concealer trap, and it can instantly age a mature face. On the left side of the screen, imagine our mistake side. The concealer is at least 2 shades lighter than the natural skin tone. It has a thick, matte texture. It's been dragged all the way from the inner corner down and across, forming an opaque mask under the eye. After a few minutes, it begins to settle. Every tiny line beneath the eye becomes outlined by product. The contrast between the pale under eye and the rest of the face makes the area stand out like a spotlight, drawing the viewer's eye directly to the most delicate, textured skin. Instead of brightening, it creates an illusion of puffiness, dryness, and fatigue. Now on the right side of the screen, the corrected side looks noticeably softer. Here, the concealer is no more than half a shade to 1 shade lighter than the foundation, with a neutral or slightly peachy undertone if there is darkness to correct. The texture is thinner, more serum-like, almost melting into the skin instead of sitting on top of it. Instead of painting a large triangle, just a few small dots are placed strategically. One at the darkest hollow near the inner corner, one right over any visible bluish shadow, and possibly one near the outer corner, where redness can settle. A damp sponge or a soft brush presses the product into the skin with small, gentle motions, not dragging or pulling. The focus is on correcting darkness rather than erasing every hint of natural shadow. The result is that the under eye looks like skin, slightly brighter, smoother, and more hydrated, without that sharp demarcation line. Fine lines still exist, and that's normal, but they aren't emphasized by a stark pale stripe. If needed, a tiny amount of a lightweight, hydrating setting product is tapped only where creasing naturally happens, not across the entire area. In this comparison, something powerful becomes clear. On mature skin, more product and lighter shade often equal more aging. It's not about hiding life from your face. It's about choosing tones and textures that respect the way your skin behaves now. The eye that uses a near skin tone flexible concealer looks more rested, less harsh, and more naturally youthful. The viewer may not even notice the concealer itself. They just see a softer, kinder version of the same woman. Powder problems. When setting turns into settling. One of the most persistent habits many mature women hold on to is the urge to set everything with powder. For years, matte skin was the goal, and shiny skin was seen as oily or unpolished. But as skin matures, the relationship with powder quietly changes. The same product that once blurred pores now has a different effect. It can cling to dry patches, exaggerate texture, and make fine lines appear etched into the skin. On the mistake side of the face, the powder brush moves quickly and generously. A dense, flat sponge or brush presses a heavy layer of matte powder all over. Under the eyes, around the mouth, across the cheeks, and on the forehead. The powder is often a flat, talc-heavy formula with no luminosity or flexibility. Initially, it might look smooth in the bright bathroom light, giving that instant matte finish. But as the skin moves and hours pass, the product begins to collect in expression lines, around the crow's feet, the nasolabial folds, and even the fine lines near the lips. The more the face smiles, talks, and lives, the more the powder breaks apart, leaving tiny chalky patches that catch the light in unflattering ways. On the corrected side, the approach is much more intentional and skin-focused. Instead of thinking powder everywhere, the mindset shifts to powder only where it's truly needed. A finely milled, translucent, or slightly tinted powder is chosen. One with a soft focus finish, maybe even a hint of radiance. Before applying anything, the face is observed. Where does it actually get oily? And where does makeup tend to move? Usually that's the T-zone. The sides of the nose, the center of the forehead, and perhaps the chin. The under eye is treated with extreme care, or avoided entirely if the skin is especially dry. A fluffy, small brush gently taps into the powder, then taps off the excess. The product is pressed into the skin with delicate, almost patting motions, not dragged across the surface. The cheeks are often left mostly free of powder, allowing the natural glow of foundation or skin tint to shine through. This gives the face dimension and life, instead of an all-over flatness. As the day progresses, the powdered areas remain controlled but not crusty. The radiance on the high points of the cheek keeps the overall impression youthful and fresh. When the side-by-side comparison appears on screen, the difference is surprisingly dramatic. The heavy powder side looks more static, almost mask-like, as if the skin cannot move without cracking. Pores may appear more pronounced because a dry product sits on top of them. On the corrected side, the skin looks like skin, with a soft sheen where light naturally hits, and only the areas prone to shine tastefully diffused. The face seems more alive, more hydrated, and less tight. The lesson becomes clear. Powder is not the enemy, but on mature skin, it must be used thoughtfully, like a finishing detail rather than a blanket. Instead of chasing total matte perfection, the goal shifts to controlled glow, one that honors both texture and time. Lips that live. How matte shades can drain mature features. There is something incredibly expressive about a woman's lips as she ages. They carry laughter, secrets, stories. But certain lip choices can unintentionally mute that vitality. Many mature women reach for long wear, flat matte lipsticks thinking they are sophisticated and low maintenance. Yet, on skin that's drier and lips that may have lost a bit of volume, those same formulas can become unforgiving, making the mouth look thinner, cracked, and older than it really is. On the mistake side of the screen, picture a very matte, cool-toned, slightly dusty lipstick. It's applied directly from the bullet onto bare, unprepped lips. There is no balm underneath, no softening step, and no definition at the edges. The formula immediately clings to every tiny line, emphasizing vertical creases. Because the shade is dull and flat, it almost erases the natural fullness of the lips, shrinking them visually. The edges may bleed slightly into fine lines around the mouth as the day goes on, creating a faint, uneven halo. When the woman smiles, the contrast between the dry lipstick and the moisture inside the mouth is jarring, drawing attention away from her expression and toward the texture on her lips. Now on the corrected side, the transformation is subtle but striking. Before any color touches the lips, a thin layer of hydrating balm or a targeted lip treatment is applied and allowed to sink in. The lips are gently patted with a fingertip to remove excess shine, leaving them soft but not slippery. Instead of a flat, chalky formula, A creamy satin or soft luminous lipstick is chosen, in a tone that echoes the natural color of the lips, perhaps a rose, a warm nude, or a berry that complements her skin's undertone. The color is rich enough to define the mouth, but not so dark that it emphasizes every boundary line. A lip pencil in a nearly identical shade is used to trace just along the natural edge of the lip line, not drastically overdrawn, but enough to restore a sense of structure. This helps prevent feathering into the tiny lines around the mouth. The lipstick is pressed in with a fingertip or a brush rather than smeared thickly, creating a veil of color that looks integrated with the lips, not sitting on top like a layer of paint. If she loves the look of matte, a tissue can be gently pressed to the lips to absorb some shine, but the underlying formula remains flexible and comfortable. In the side-by-side comparison, the impact is clear. On the matte mistake side, the lips look compressed and slightly exhausted, as if the life has been drained from them. On the corrected side, the lips appear softly plump, hydrated, and welcoming. The color lifts the whole face, drawing attention to the warmth in her eyes and the softness of her smile. Instead of the lips saying, "I'm wearing a long-wear formula," they quietly say, "I am here and I am alive." This reveals a quiet truth about mature beauty. Glow and softness often flatter more than extreme longevity or trend-driven textures. When the lips look comfortable and nourished, the entire face appears more youthful, whether the shade is a subtle nude or a bold, joyful red. Eyes wide open, eyeshadow placement that ages versus lifts. The eyes are often the first feature people look at, and as they mature, their shape can change. Lids may become heavier, creases deeper, and the outer corners may gently tilt downward. Traditional eyeshadow techniques, especially those taught on younger, more taut eyes, can unintentionally work against these changes. The wrong placement can make the eyes look smaller, more closed off, and more tired than they truly are. On the mistake side, imagine an eyeshadow look built heavily on the lid with dark, matte shades placed low and concentrated near the lash line and inner corner. A shimmery, frosty highlight is swept generously under the brow, almost touching the eyebrow itself. The crease color sits well above the natural fold, creating a harsh stripe rather than a gentle shadow. When the woman opens her eyes, the combination of a darker lid and bright brow bone pulls the eye downward, making the lid space appear shrunken. Any puffiness or texture on the lid is emphasized by the shimmer spread across its fullest part. Black liner is drawn thickly along the upper lash line and into the inner corner, with a heavy smudged line along the lower lash line as well, closing the eye shape even more. Now on the corrected side, the approach respects the natural architecture of a mature eye. Instead of starting with dark shadow on the lid, a soft, neutral matte shade close to her skin tone is applied lightly over the mobile lid to even out discoloration. The shimmer is reserved if used at all, and kept to the very center of the lid or inner corner, avoiding heavily textured or crepey areas. The star of the show becomes a mid-tone matte shadow, placed slightly above the natural crease but blended upwards and outwards in a lifted, soft wing shape. This creates the illusion of a higher, more open eye without sharp lines. The brow bone highlight, if any, is subtle and satin rather than frosty, placed only just under the highest point of the brow instead of all the way across. Eyeliner transforms from thick and heavy to a softer, more diffused definition. A deep brown or charcoal pencil is pressed into the roots of the upper lashes, then gently smudged to give the look of fullness without a harsh block of color. The lower lash line is either softly defined with a small amount of shadow near the outer third, or left clean to keep the eye looking bright. Mascara focuses on lifting and lengthening, particularly at the outer corners, rather than clumping thickly at the base. Brows are softly filled in to frame the face but not over-darkened, as overly strong brows on mature features can sometimes harden the expression. When both eyes are shown together on screen, the story they tell is unmistakable. The mistake eye appears smaller, rounder, almost weighed down by product. The corrected eye looks gently lifted, more awake, and more open, even though fewer products may have been used. The viewer can easily recognize techniques they've seen in old magazines or younger influencers, and see why those looks stopped working as their own eyes changed. The lesson is comforting. It's not that your eyes are not right for makeup now. It's that your eyes have earned new techniques, ones that honor the life they've seen, and help them remain the focus of your face in the most flattering way. Blush that lifts, avoiding placement that pulls the face down. Blush can be one of the most powerful, yet misunderstood, tools in a mature makeup routine. It has the ability to bring life, warmth, and a sense of health back into the face. But when placed incorrectly, it can do the opposite, drawing attention to sagging areas, emphasizing jowls, or visually dragging the face downward. The difference between aging and lifting often comes down to just a few centimeters of placement. On the mistake side, imagine a classic technique many women learned years ago. Smile and put your blush on the apples of your cheeks. So she smiles, the apples pop up, and a round, bright circle of blush is applied with a heavy hand. The color is often too strong, too low, and too close to the nose. Once she relaxes her face, those apples drop, and with them, the blush now sits in the lower third of the face, creeping toward the nasolabial folds. Instead of creating a youthful flush, the blush inadvertently emphasizes the downward pull of gravity, making the mid-face appear heavier and the jawline softer in a way that can read as tired. On the corrected side, the approach begins with observing the face in its resting, natural expression, not in a smile. A flattering shade is chosen, something that mimics the color she naturally flushes, often a soft rose, peach, or warm pink with a hint of luminosity, but not chunky glitter. The brush is a bit fluffier, allowing for a sheer, buildable application rather than one intense stamp of color. Instead of starting near the center of the cheek, the blush is first placed slightly higher and a bit further back, roughly over the upper outer cheek, aligned with the outer corner of the eye and the top of the ear. The motion is upward and outward, creating a diagonal wash that follows the natural lift of the cheekbone. This subtle change moves the visual focus higher on the face, giving the impression of elevation. Any remaining product on the brush is then lightly swept toward the center of the cheek, but never heavy near the nose or mouth. There is a sense that the color is rising rather than falling. In some cases, a touch of blush is even brought up into the temples or lightly across the bridge of the nose to unify the look, always in delicate, airy strokes. If cream blush is used, it is tapped in with fingers or a sponge for a skin-like finish, blending seamlessly into foundation and bronzer. The result is a soft, lifted glow that suggests good circulation and vitality, not makeup sitting on top of the skin. When both sides are shown together on screen, the effect seems almost like a mini facelift. The low, circular blush on the mistake side pulls the viewer's eye downward, centering attention near the nose and mouth. The high, diagonal blush on the corrected side gently guides the eye upward, toward the cheekbones and eyes, making the overall expression appear more open and uplifted. What becomes beautifully clear is that blush isn't just color, it's structure. On a mature face, it can either echo gravity or gently counterbalance it. With thoughtful placement, blush becomes less about following old rules like apples of the cheeks, and more about drawing where you want the light and attention to go. It's a simple adjustment, but once you see the difference side by side, it's hard to go back. Final thoughts. When all these side-by-side comparisons are viewed together, the concealer, the powder, the lips, the eyes, the blush, a gentle truth emerges. Most makeup mistakes that age mature women are not about lack of skill or beauty. They are about habits that simply didn't evolve as your face did. You kept your technique the same, even as your skin, your features, and your life moved forward. The corrections you've seen in this video are not about becoming someone else. They are about meeting the woman you are today with techniques that honor her. A slightly deeper concealer, softer powder, more forgiving lip texture, lifted eyeshadow placement, and higher blush can completely change how rested, vibrant, and confident you look, without hiding your age or your story. If you recognized yourself in any of these before sides, let that recognition be kind. You were doing the best you knew at the time. Now you simply know more. Try one or two of these dermatologist-approved corrections the next time you sit at your mirror, and watch how even small changes can shift how you feel about your reflection. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path.